Hi people, welcome back to the channel. This is Jane here. Welcome to Jane by Design. Today we'll be learning how to sew a bubu dress, this bubu dress with this front design on it. If this is something you're interested in, watch the video to the end. Make sure you watch the video to the end and give me a like as well. Okay, if you are new to this channel, thank you for stopping by. If you're a returning subscriber, thank you as well. You're all welcome. So here with me I have the materials that I'll be using to ensure that this comes out well. First I have the black material, and I have my fabric as well. I also have my chalk. Now for the fabric, the quantity you'll be needing will be 3 yards or more, depending on the body size of your client or your body size. But for the sake of this video, I ended up using 3 yards for the whole of this, and I also went ahead to folding it by 2. Okay, so I folded it in by 4. All right, so because we are going to be cutting the front and the back together, so you fold your fabric by 4. Now if you're working with Ankara fabric, you know that Ankara fabric comes in the length of 45 inches, and because this yard is already 3 yards, I folded it the other way around so that I have a longer length. So that is what I have right now. So you can see my fabric, I have it folded into 4 for both the front and the back. So onto the measurements now. We are going to go to the point where we have the fold for the front and the back, and we are going to start off by taking off the back measurement before we move on to the front. So on the fold, I'm going to take in 2.5 inches for the neck width, and for the neck depth of the back, I'm going to be taking 1 inch. So this is so that when I stitch it up, I'm going to have 1.5 inch for the neck depth and 3 inches for the neck width. I hope we understand that. So we are starting off with the back because we are going to have to cut that out before we move on to the front. So now that I've measured out my neck width and neck depth of the back, I'm just going ahead to connect them together. I'm sorry guys, at this point I didn't know my camera was a little bit off angle, but I hope you understand what I am saying. So from that point as well, from the edge, we are going to be placing our shoulder measurements divided by 2. So you place your shoulder measurement divided by 2, you place it at the top there, although this is really not important, but you can just go ahead and do that. So from this point where we have the shoulder line, we are going to be taking up our sleeve, the length of the sleeve. So at this point you can determine if you want the whole of the fabric to be the length of your sleeve or wherever you want your sleeve to stop. Here I'm going to be making use of 14 inches for the length of my sleeve. So 14 inches added to where my shoulder length is where the sleeve is going to stop at, and that's where I've just placed a mark at. Now at that point where I've placed a mark where my sleeve is going to stop, I came down by 1 inch, and this 1 inch we are going to be creating the shoulder slope, and the shoulder slope is going to come all the way from your neck width to touch the 1 inch slant that we took on our sleeve opening. I hope you understand that. So just place your ruler and connect from the shoulder, from your neck width to the point where you have the 1 inch drop. This is for the shoulder slant. Now that I've created the shoulder slant, next thing I'm going to do is to take my tape up again at the top, and then we are going to mark out the bust line. So from the shoulder down, I'm going to take my bust line. I'm going to take 10 inch for the bust line, and also I'll be taking quarter of the bust circumference, which is 9 inches, and at that point I'm going to be adding extra 5 inch to it for allowance. This is a bubu dress and you want it to be really free, so I took extra 5 inch added to my bust circumference. And then moving on to the sleeve opening, from the point where we have the shoulder slant, 1 inch drop, I came down by 8 inches or 9, depending on how open you want the sleeve opening to be. I came down by 8 inches, and then I'm just going to be connecting these 2 points with a straight line. All right, so after now we've connected it, the measurement that I have on my bust line is what I'm going to be marking all the way down to the hemline of my dress. So because I added 5 inches to my bust line, it gave it enough room for me to be able to use that measurement for the hemline of my dress. Although my hip is the largest circumference of my body, but because of the number of allowances that I added to my bust circumference, I decided to use my bust circumference measurement to measure down from that point to the hemline of the dress. So that's what I have done here. And after that, now I went ahead to use my ruler to connect from the hemline to touch the curve that we have on the armhole to also meet the sleeve opening. So after we've gotten the body of the dress now, I'm going to go ahead and mark out the front neckline. So from the top, I will place the tape down to where I want the neckline to be. It's going to be a V neckline. I took the length to be 8 inches. You can do lower than this if you don't want your cleavage to be a little much more exposed, so you can do lower than this, but I used 8 inches from the top. So I placed my ruler from the top of the fabric, and then I connected to touch that point where I marked, and this will be for the front. So after we've gotten this, now the next thing to do is to go ahead and cut out the back first before cutting out the front. Alright, so guys, this is it. Now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the back of my fabric, and after cutting it out, I'm going to take it out, and then we are going to move on to cutting the front of the fabric. So now for us to work on the black design on the front of the garment, I placed the black fabric underneath my fabric, okay, underneath the dress. Then I went ahead to cut out the neckline exactly the same shape that I have on the dress neckline, okay. And for the length of the design that I have, it's from the shoulder to the waistline. You can decide to make yours longer than that, but for the length of this design, I had it in the length of 16 inches. So I also went ahead to trim off the shoulder as well. So after this, now I'm going to go ahead and now mark out the V-shaped design that we see on the front of this Bubu dress. This tutorial is very easy and simple. Just pay attention. If you're a beginner, I hope this will be helpful to you. So what I did next was to place my ruler on top of my black fabric, and then I went ahead to use my chalk to mark out how I want the shape to be, but at the same time I also went ahead to leave out half an inch spacing so that it will give us enough room to be able to stitch up the black design and the fabric itself. Okay, so that's what I did. I placed my ruler on top of my fabric. You can see that this fabric is a lace fabric. I wanted to use a lace fabric, but later on I changed my mind. I decided to go for the regular black fabric, which you're going to see later on in the video. All right, so what I'm doing here at the moment is to cut out that neck design, giving it half an inch extra as I cut out. All right, so guys, after I have cut out, this is what it looks like. You can see that the design came out well. So what you will do now is to take this design and you're going to be placing it on the right side of your pattern just to see what it will look like after cutting. So this is my fabric here. Okay, I'm going to just go ahead and place this fabric, this design that I've already cut out on my fabric. Now for you to be able to join these two pieces together, you need to place the black fabric on top of your dress wrong sides facing each other, so that when you turn it to the right side, it will be right side on top of it. Okay, so what I did here was I took the black fabric and then I placed it on top of my dress, on the wrong side of my dress. Okay, so I placed it on the wrong side of my dress, and I'm going to stitch it by 1/2 inch. So you're going to be joining these two pieces by 1/2 inch. So this is what I was talking about. I went ahead to cut out a different black fabric because the lace wasn't really giving me what I wanted. So I placed this pattern on top of it. Like I said, make sure that the wrong side of the garment is facing you, and then the wrong side of the fabric also is on top of the garment. I hope you understand. Wrong sides facing each other, then you go stitch it by 1/2 inch. You stitch the inside by 1/2 inch. That way your neckline will fall back to 3 inches. I hope we get that. So after we've stitched this by 1/2 inch, now I'm going to go ahead and cut out the excess. You know, this is a V, and sometimes for beginners, stitching a V can be very difficult, and also turning it. So what you need to do is to go ahead and cut out the excesses that you have after stitching. Just ensure that you do not cut above your stitching line. Okay, so just go ahead and cut out the excesses that you have, and then after you've cut out those excesses, you are also going to notch it as well. That way it will allow you to be able to turn this design to the right side of the garment. Okay, so this is what I'm doing at the moment. You can see it from the video. I'm going ahead to notch all of the curve that I have on this neckline, so that when I flip this design to the right side of the garment, it will stay really flat. And also you also use your iron to ensure that it stays really flat on your garment. So that's what I'm doing here. After placing all the notches, I went ahead and flipped in my design, and this time around it will be on the right side of your garment. If you did it well, it's supposed to be on the right side of your garment. All right, so this is what it looks like after flipping it in. So what I'll do next, now for the edges, I'm going to fold it in. I'm going to use my bias tape. I know some of you know what a bias tape looks like. I'm going to use my bias tape to hold down the edges, and then I'm going to go and stitch it down on my fabric. So guys, here it is. After I have stitched it down, this is what it looks like. You can see that the edge of this design is not moving around. Yeah, that is because I used my bias tape to hold it down first, and then I took it to the sewing machine to stitch all the way around the design. So after that, this is done. After I have done this now, the next thing we are going to do is to be joining the back and the front. So before we join the back, we are going to be cutting out the facing for the back. Very, very important. So right here I have a piece of fabric with me, and then I'm going to be placing my back neckline on top of this fabric, and what we'll do is just go ahead and cut out. Simple as that. So I took a piece of fabric, and then I placed my fabric, that's my main garment, on top of the fabric, and then I cut out the exact shape of the neckline. So please bear in mind that the piece of fabric is on fold, because the neckline of the back does not have an opening, so the facing has to be on fold. So I took a piece of fabric which is on fold, okay, and then I cut out exactly what I have for the neckline of the back. I went ahead also to trim out the excesses that I have at the shoulder, and when I opened it up, this is what it looks like. So for us to be able to also reduce it, you can just go ahead and give it a nice curve, so that when you stitch it, it will just lay flat on your fabric. So what I did next here is to just take my chalk to mark out the shape of the facing for the back. Okay, I just took my chalk and I marked out the shape of how I want the facing to be at the back, and then I used my scissors to cut out the shape. All right, so after cutting out the shape, what I did next was to take this facing, I placed it on top of my back fabric, right sides facing each other this time around, right sides facing each other, okay, and then I stitched them together. So you can see what the facing looks like. I placed it on top of my fabric for the back, right sides facing each other, I went ahead to stitch them together at the neckline. So after stitching up the neckline for the back, the facing for the back, I also used my hemming tape to secure the edges so that it stays really flat and it stays on top of the neckline. So you can see that the facing is not moving around. I used the interfacing to iron it on top of the fabric. Now what we'll do next is to join the front and the back. Now for us to join the front and the back, you need to place the front panel right side on top of the back panel right side as well. You place them together right sides facing each other, and we are going to stitch them at the shoulder. So we are going to be joining the shoulder line of the front and the back. Okay, that's what we are going to do now. So I'll take this to the sewing machine and we join it at the shoulder line by 1/2 inch. Now after we've done this, now I'm going to turn this to the right side so you see what it looks like on the right side. So this is what it looks like. The front and the back has been joined successfully. Now we're going to work on the design for the sleeve. So for the sleeve is also going to be taking off the black design that we have for the front of this pattern. So for this, now we are going to be opening up the sleeve. You know that at this point now the front sleeve and the back sleeve has been joined courtesy of the shoulder. So what you will do now is to take your tape and you're going to measure the length of what you have on your sleeve. I have about 19 inches thereabouts. So I'm going to be cutting a strip of fabric that is either longer than what I already measured on my sleeve. Okay, so I have about 19 or 20 inches thereabouts on this strip of fabric for the length. And for the width of the fabric, I went with 2.5 inch. So I'm going to be stitching this by 0.25 inch, and then also at the lower part we are going to be stitching by 0.25 inch. So what we are going to do at this point now, after you've cut out the strip, you're going to be placing it on your sleeve opening. You're going to be placing it on top of it, right sides facing each other, and you're going to be stitching it by 0.25 inch. So that is what we are going to do at the moment. So you take your black strips, place it on top of your sleeve opening, right sides facing each other. All right, you get the midpoint if it's important. So just place it on top of each other and then go to the machine, stitch it by 0.25 inch, right sides facing each other. And after stitching, this is what it's going to look like. You can see that the other side of the strip is still open. So what we are going to do to be able to finish off the lower part of the strip, we are going to be folding it in by 0.25. So we're going to go take this to the machine now, and we are going to fold the edge of the strip by 0.25. And after folding, we are going to be cutting out the excesses that we have at the sides. All right, so this is what it looks like after we have joined the strips together and we have folded the edge. This is what it looks like on the sleeve. Next thing to do is to turn this inside out, and we are going to be joining the dress by the side. So we are going to turn the dress inside out, okay, so that we can go ahead and stitch close the side. So the way we are going to be doing this is we are going to be running a stitch from the sleeve opening down to the hem of the dress. That's what we are going to be doing. So guys, we will do that now. We also repeat the same thing for the other side. We're going to be running a stitch from the sleeve down to the hemline. We are going to be closing it by 1/2 inch. At this point, if you want to attach a pocket to yours, you can go ahead and do that at this point. So after you've done that, you've closed the two sides. I went ahead to also fold the lower parts of my garment. Okay, so I went ahead to fold the lower parts of the dress, and that is it. The dress is done. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a giant thumbs up. Subscribe to the channel if you're yet to do so. This is what the dress looks like. It is beautiful. If you made yours, do let me know in the comment section. Thank you guys so much for watching. I will hope to see you guys in my next video. Stay blessed and I will see you guys. Bye.